Hey y'all, it's Tiana. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. Today we are going to have a story time, and I have cooking up a plan, so I hope y'all are ready to listen. Ever since I was a little girl, I loved to cook. My father taught me everything I know. We spent many happy hours side by side at the stove mixing up pots of gumbo and dreaming of the restaurant that would open someday. We wanted it to be a welcoming place where all different kinds of people could come together and share food and friendship. By the time I had grown up, my father had passed away. But still, I dreamed of opening the restaurant. I had my eye on an old sugar mill. It would be the perfect place. I knew it would take a lot of hard work. I got a job waiting tables at Carl's Diner and saved every penny and every tip of money. Even so, I sometimes thought I might never have enough money to buy the meal. One day, I decided to look for a second job. I figured if I worked twice as hard, I could earn the money I needed twice as fast. My first stop on the job was Mrs. Johnson's dress shop. "Hello," I called out from the doorway. "Down here, dear," Miss Johnson replied. The woman was sewing a hem of a gown. "Help me, won't you?" After Miss Johnson was seated, I offered to finish sewing the hem. I quickly grabbed a needle and thread and began stitching. "You have your mother's gift," Miss Johnson said. "I'm glad you think so," I replied, "because I was hoping to come work for you." "Unfortunately, I'm not all the busy right now," Miss Johnson said, "but business usually picks up around Mardi Gras. Why don't you check back then?" I was disappointed, but I wasn't going to give up. I went to the hardware store next. Mr. Lameau, the owner, greeted me cheerfully. "What can I get for you today?" he asked. "A ladder? A broom?" "Well, I'm pretty handy," I said, eyeing a sign above the counter that had come loose. I quickly grabbed a hammer and step stool and nailed the sign back into place. "How about a part-time job?" I asked with a smile. "I'm sorry, Tiana. I just hired my nephew," he replied. "But don't worry, something is bound to turn up." Back outside, I noticed a steady stream of customers walking into Cora's beauty parlor. "Maybe I'll have some luck there," I thought. "Why don't you show me what you can do with Miss Richmond's hair?" Cora offered when I asked for a job. I immediately set to work with curlers and hairpins. When she was done, it looked more like a wedding cake than a hairdo. "Oh dear, I guess I was thinking about that new dessert recipe I came up with this morning," I explained. "Thank you anyway, Cora. What's your favorite dessert?" My spirits were drooping as I made my way over to Duke's Cafe and plopped myself onto a stool. I needed to take a break. "What's the matter?" asked Buford, the head cook. "You look down in the dumps." "Buford, I need a job," I said. Then I had a thought. "Could you use a new waitress? I promise I'll work hard if you give me a chance." "I believe you," said Buford, "but we don't need anybody right now. Chin up, you'll find something." He opened the glass door on the dessert stand in front of him. "Have one of my world-famous donuts. I guarantee it will put a smile on your face." I bit into the donut. It was dry and tasteless, but I didn't want to hurt Buford's feelings. "Thank you," I said, forcing a grin. That certainly was unlike any donut I've ever had before. Back at home, I told my mother Eudora about my disappointing day. "At this rate, I don't know if I'll ever be able to save up enough money I need," I said. "You're already working hard enough with just one job," my mother insisted. "Why, you don't even have time to do the things you love anymore, like cook. I sure do miss those beignets of yours. I swear they're like magic on a plate." Suddenly, I perked up. "Well, I don't know about magic, but they're worth a try," I said. "What do you mean?" my mother asked. "You'll see, Mama," I replied. The next morning, I went to work mixing up a batch of dough. When it was done, I set it in a bowl to rise. Next, I cut the dough into squares that were dropped into a deep fryer. Soon they turned crispy and golden. One by one, I carefully removed the beignets from the fryer and began dusting them with powdered sugar. I smiled as I set aside one for my mother. She piled the rest onto a large plate. I walked straight over to Duke's and made a big show of putting the towering platter of beignets on the counter. Something sure does smell good," remarked a customer as the scent of beignets wafted through the cafe. "What's all this?" Buford asked, interested. My homemade beignets, I replied. They're for being nice to me yesterday. Go on, try one. Buford picked up a beignet and bit into it. So, what do you think? I asked. Buford thought the beignet was delicious. He didn't want to admit it in a room full of customers. After all, he was the head cook at Duke's. Still, those beignets were pretty tasty. Let me try another one, he said, stuffing 3 into his mouth at once. Yes, I asked. Hang on, Buford replied. I don't want to be too hasty. He helped himself to another beignet, and another, until half of them were gone. Not bad, I guess, he said finally, licking the powdered sugar off his fingers. By now, everyone was eyeing my pastries. Mind if I try one? One of the customers asked. Me too, said another. In no time at all, the beignets were gone and the customers were upset. It's okay, Buford, I said as he headed out the door. I'll whip up another batch and come back tomorrow. The next morning, a crowd was waiting at Buford's. Moments later, I arrived with a huge tray of treats. The hungry customers followed me eagerly into the cafe. Say, Buford said, could you teach me to make those? Sorry, Buford, I replied as I handed out the last pastry. It's the secret family recipe. Well, I'd better get going now. I've got more job hunting to do. The next morning, even more people flocked to Duke's. Buford was relieved when I came through the door. Tiana, he cried, did you bring any more beignets? I sure didn't, I replied. But that's what these folks are here for. Well, Buford, it seems to me, I began, that what you need is a beignet cook and a waitress to help with all those extra customers. Lucky for you, I'm both rolled into one. But I can't afford to offer you even one job, let alone 2, exclaimed Buford. You mean couldn't afford? I corrected him. My beignets have at least tripled your business. So what do you say? Buford handed me an apron. Miss Tiana, he said, you drive a hard bargain, but you've got yourself a deal. In no time at all, I whipped up enough beignets for the whole cafe to enjoy. Later that day, I told my mother about my new job. When you called my beignets magic on a plate, she exclaimed, I decided to let them cast their spell. There was no magic to it, my mama said. What got you that job was smarts and determination. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Thanks, Mama, I answered happily. She was one step closer to making her dreams come true. I took a plate from behind my back. I made some beignets just for you. Shall we have some to celebrate? I thought you'd never ask, my mama declared. Well, I sure hope y'all enjoyed that story. And until next time, y'all have a swell and wonderful day.